Hi, my dear Rostov family. Let's talk about relocation astrology. This is one of the most sought services of mine for some reason. Well, I do understand why. I believe with Uranus moving into the sign of Gemini, as well as the 2020 Saturn and Jupiter conjunction in the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius represents freedom. And not to mention that Pluto right now is also in the sign of Aquarius. So I expected that relocation would become a huge topic. I tend to consider Aquarius as the digital nomad lifestyle, and I think it's going to be increasing quite significantly in the upcoming years. So I wanted to make quite a few video on relocation so that you can have a bit of better understanding how a relocation chart should be read. So firstly, there are many relocation techniques. I would like to mention that. So I would say one of the key concepts is to stop moving to your Jupiter line. This is so easy to say. I read this so often online that, oh, just move to your Jupiter line and everything is going to be okay. So Jupiter is a huge ga gas giant, and therefore it carries a lot of promises, but it has got a huge trap as well. I know everyone tells you it's the line of luck and abundance, but in my experience, both personally and with my students, and also with my clients as well, blindly following a Jupiter line is the biggest mistake you can make when relocating. Why? Well, here is the reality. Jupiter expands everything. If you move to a Jupiter line without looking at the rest of the map, you might expand your expenses, your workload, or even your problems just as much as your opportunities. I've seen people move for wealth only to find they have no time to enjoy it because they are constantly overextended. Now, I am myself a very strong Jupiterian person. My Jupiter is super well placed. It has got a no, it's super good dignities, and anyway, overall, my Jupiter is mega super good. And I did spend time on Jupiter lines, and I'm not gonna lie, it was super good, but nothing really stuck or stick with me though. So, firstly, I would like to mention that I think relocation is one of my primary specialties because I don't just teach this, I live it. I relocate frequently using these exact techniques to ensure that my career, my health, my daily environment actually aligns with my goals, not just a random kind of lucky planet. And I'm tired of seeing people make expensive move mistakes. That's why I'm actually launching this upcoming 16-week intense course on the art and science of relocation. We are going beyond basics. I'm going to show you how to find the lines that actually support your specific lifestyle and how to time your move so that transition is actually seamless. And if you are ready to stop guessing and start moving with precision, then join me for this 16-week course. The doors are opening now. There is a bit of a discount happening for the next 2 days, so you might want to grab the opportunity. And maybe comment move below or click the link in my bio to see the full syllabus and grab your spot. Or if you just comment move below, then I'm going to be sticking that for you there. But firstly, I would like to mention that there are quite a few relocation techniques. Yes, the most popular one, the most famous technique is astrocartography, the ACG. It projects your birth chart onto a world map to show where planets were rising, setting, or on an angles at the moment of your birth. Now, the trap with that people often just chase a Jupiter line without realizing that if Jupiter is poorly placed in their natal chart, let's say it's in detriment or heavily afflicted, the luck comes with a massive side of chaos as well. Also, we've got local space astrology as well. It's kind of like the astrological feng shui, really. Instead of looking at the global lines, this technique treats your current location as the center of a compass. And then that determines the specific direction of planetary energies from your front door, basically. It's very good for micro move, moving to a different neighborhood, or even arranging furniture as well. I'm going to be teaching you this in the course as well, how to do a astrological feng shui in your house using local space. And it tells you how you will physically navigate the city you live in. Now, of course, we can use the relocated chart. I think this is the most critical steps, one of the most critical steps. You take your birth time and cast a new chart for the potential new city, as if you were born there. Well, it matters because it changes your house placement. A planet that is quiet in your 12th house at home might move to your 10th house in the new city, completely changing your career visibility. Then we can also use parents or parallels of latitudes. While ACG lines run vertically and curved, parents are horizontal latitude crossings pretty much. So these are often the hidden influence of the location. So you might not actually see a major ACG line there, but if you are on a Saturn, Pluto, Piran latitude, for example, you will feel that intensely, regardless of what the vertical lines say. Then we can be looking at the geodetic planets as well, or the geodetic equivalents. This technique maps the 360 of the zodiac directly onto a 360 of the Earth's longitude. So it kind of like links the DNA of a city or a country to your chart. It might explain why certain people feel a deep soulful connection to a place, like let's say Paris or Tokyo, even if their standard ACG map looks empty there. And then we also have got the cyclocartography as well, which is actually adding the element of time to the map. It layers your current transit, progression, solar arc over your relocation map. So the mistake could be there, for example, that you move to a great location during a heavy Saturn transit to that specific spot. And the location might be super good in theory, but the timing makes the move kind of like a disaster. So you can, and then there are other techniques as well, which we are going to be learning about in the course. So as you can see, we do have got a lot of technique to choose from. And you might be thinking that, oh, okay, what if I move, what if I'm going to be picking astrocartography? Or what if I'm only going to be working with local space astrology and so forth? I think you are actually making a big mistake. So when I do a personal reading, I go through 5, 6 techniques and I look at which countries are popping up the most often if I choose those 5, 6 techniques. And if 1, 2, or 3 pops up, let's say 3 times, then it just shows to me that you have got something good happening there. And at the end of the session, I also look at which is the best for right now, because maybe I'm going to tell you that Tokyo is a super good place for you, but right now you have got Pluto line or Pluto transit running through there. And I might not say to move to a Pluto transit line because you might find it too intense and so on. So, and even when Jupiter is strong in your chart, it is still important to see whether it is used correctly or well by the native. A perfect Jupiter can be too much of a good thing. So, in a practical sense, an unchecked Jupiter often creates excess spending, overconfidence, simply biting off more than you can chew because everything feels possible in the moment. That's the dark side of Jupiter, a bit of a financial bloat. You earn more, but you spend even more. So the abundance is there, but the retention is zero. If you have got a super good Jupiter, but being squared by Saturn, then maybe I'm not so scared. Go to a Jupiter line. Why not? Because Saturn is going to do potentially a good job there as well. Overexpansion is also a huge dark side of a strong Jupiter. So taking on 5 projects, for example, at a time, you kind of feel lucky only to realize that you have exhausted your physical energy. We can run into legal, ethical blindness as well. Jupiter can make us feel like we are above the rules. So this is how people end up with zoning issues, tax headaches, overpromising in contracts, and all those type of stuff. You know, Jupiter expands physically and metaphorically as well. So, it can you can end up kind of like with a lack of focus or kind of drifting because things come too easily. And then let's say we're going to start putting on weight. So basically the bottom line is it's not always Jupiter that is your solution. A strong Jupiter on the ascendant might make you super popular, for example, but if it relocates into the 12th house, that expansion might be happening in your subconscious or in isolation, not in your bank account. So therefore, the house placements are also super important. Often I say that Jupiter has no stop button. So without a supportive Saturn or Mercury, Jupiter is just a balloon with a string, really. So, or moving to a Jupiter midheaven line for a big career move, but finding that the cost of living in that city is so high that your big salary actually leaves you with less disposable income than ever before. So, like I said, I have a super strong Jupiter. It's very well placed, it's powerful, but when I move to a Jupiterian line, I'm always very careful. It's all about being able to be conscious. Sometimes the problem with Jupiter that it doesn't know how to say no. So you might get a big house, a big job, a big social circle, but you get the big bills as well, the big responsibilities that come with them. That's why often, let's say you've got a Jupiter-Uranus aspect in your chart. That's a lottery winning combo. Did you know that 70% of the lottery winners go busted? And it's not even an exaggeration. That's a statistics. And the reason being is because often they buy huge mansions and villas and so forth, but the cost of maintenance is super high as well. And of course, we are unable to say no to people, and then we start lending money or giving money away. And usually, statistically speaking, 70% of the lottery winners go busted after 3 years of having that money. So that's very interesting. So in my upcoming 16-week course, we don't just look for luck, we look for sustainability. We check if your map can actually hold the weight of expansion Jupiter is following. The other thing we might want to be remembering when you relocate. This is another kind of like common thing that I see with my clients. I ask them, why would you like to move? Oh, because I want my life better. And what are you ready to sacrifice? Nothing. Everything is bad in my life. So I want everything to be boosted. So relocation is about harmonizing the energies. So you boost a planet of yours, but you have to be often taking energy away from another planet. So meaning that we have to have something established in our lives, which we are ready to kind of give up on a little bit, so that that energy can be put into a different type of area of life. Very important. So when you relocate, you are rotating the wheel of your chart. So if you move a planet onto a success angle, you are simultaneously moving something else into maybe hidden or challenging zone of your chart. So you can kind of think of it as a trade-off. You move to put your sun on the midheaven for maximum visibility or fame. However, this often pushes your moon, let's say, or your fourth house ruler into a Caden house, meaning your career skyrockets, but your home life feels very unstable or even neglected. Or you move to a place where your Venus is in the 11th house, let's say for a great social life. But in that same move, your Saturn might land up in the 12th house, meaning your public fund is being paid for by, I don't know, anxiety or a feeling of isolation when the lights go down and all those type of stuff. Or maybe you chase a money line, but the relocated chart puts your Mars in the sixth house. So you get the paycheck, but you pay for it with burnout, physical stress, constant kind of fires to put up with at work. So it's very important to remember, what are you willing to sacrifice? This is a conscious compromise, not kind of like an accidental loss. I would say that every move is a redistribution of your natal potential. So if you prioritize your seventh house for relationship, understand that you might be deprioritizing your first house of, let's say, personal independence. So in my 16-week course, we are going to be talking about these as well. And I think this is the truth that no one really mentions about relocation. It's a trade-off. The other thing or the other question that I receive a lot from students or clients as well, how quickly I will feel the energy after the move. So, firstly, I think there is a bit of a phases happening in relocation. So maybe the first 2 weeks, typically we tend to feel the local space energy. So as soon as you land, the vibe changes. You feel the physical direction of the city, the pace of the people, and your immediate reaction to the environment. So at the very beginning of our move, we tend to feel the local space chart. Then about 1 to 3 month time, this is when the astrocartography lines or the relocated angles start to kick in. So because the angles, AC, DC, MC, and IC governs outer events, this is when the job offer comes, or you meet the new partner, or the housing issue arises. Pretty much kind of like the move starts to happen. And about 6 months to 1 year time, the house integration is happening. So this is when the relocated houses start to manifest. So it takes a full cycle for your internal clock to reset to that new house placement. So this is when potentially you realize that your personality has shifted, or let's say you have become more private if you have got a 12th house activation, or you become more ambitious, and that's the 10th house activation, and so forth. Activation usually peaks when a transit hits one of your new relocated angles as well. So that could be also something that you might want to remember. Another thing that I would like to approach this by is that it also depends on the natal element of your charts. So typically the cardinal type of people, so meaning that you have got a lot of Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, cardinal type of people are all about initiation. So they tend to be feeling the energy a lot quicker. They adjust quite quickly. It's kind of like hit the ground running, basically, energy. These people are the ones that have their utilities set up, a new membership, or I don't know, free networking meeting scheduled before the moving truck even arrives. So they tend to be feeling it the quickest. I would say that potentially between day one up to 3 months, they feel the changes. The mutable type of people, so Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, they are quite adaptable, but it varies. So they might feel the energy shift immediately because they tend to be very sensitive to the vibe of the environment. They tend to be blending in quite quickly, but they are kind of like chameleons. So they tend to also lose their natal center a little bit because potentially they enjoy the move, but they might struggle a lot to anchor. So for them, it will take approximately about 3 to 6 months to fully understand how the relocation is going to play out. And if you are a fixed type of person, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, or Aquarius, they are the slowest. So it might take up to 2 years for them to kind of leaving their old city, behind in their soul and then to kind of get used to the new energy. It takes much longer for their internal chemistry to accept that new relocated chart. So maybe it's going to take 6 to 12 months, but in my experience, sometimes it might take up to 2 years for them. The benefit is that when you do settle in, they are the most stable. So maybe cardinal person is going to move once a year. A fixed person will truly build on their new lines and, extract every drop of value from that. Okay, so guys, I think that's what we have got time for today. I hope this helps you a little bit to understand relocation. And I will be posting, I think tomorrow, another video about my Saturn line experiences. And I hope to see you in my course. So have a great week, everyone, and I will see you in my next video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the video and make a comment as well. Take care. Bye-bye.